What if Tommy Jarvis became the killer in Friday the 13th like he was intended to? When we talk Friday the 13th, there's a big thing about keeping Jason as the killer. I know we started out with Pamela, then we went to Jason, then we had Roy, and it was eventually supposed to shift to Tommy Jarvis afterwards. But everyone became so enamored with Jason that they were very upset at the time of the release of Friday the 13th Part 5. And ultimately, they showed their disdain for it. Which, me personally, I do like Friday the 13th Part 5. I feel like it fits in very well with the previous 4 entries, has that really nice, gritty Friday the 13th flavor to it. But then once you get to Part 6, the studio sort of flipped around and they wanted to bring Jason back, which gave us one of the most iconic undead killers ever. I mean, Jason was already iconic, but once you made him undead, it pretty much took him to another level. The only problem with that is escalation. Whenever you have a killer like Jason and you're able to kill him after every movie, things escalate more and more and more. He has to be more powerful than he was before, or at least that's how they made him. We went from undead Jason to even more undead Jason in Part 7, from Part 6, I should say. Then we had Part 8 Jason that showed him teleporting all around. We had Jason Goes to Hell after that, which he became a demon worm that was possessing people. We had Jason X after that, which he then became a cybernetic killing machine. Then we went back for Freddy versus Jason, and he once again became an undead killing machine that can lose fingers and just look at it and take a pummeling from Freddy, got turned into a pinball and like a pinball machine and just smacking walls and just got up like, okay, I'm good. The problem with the escalation is now the only way that you're going to defeat Jason realistically is you got to have superpowers. And this was first exhibited back in Friday the 13th Part 7 when he went against Tina, who had telekinesis. Now, I get the appeal on its face, or at face value. I get the appeal at face value. But from a standpoint of what we got in Part 1, where you get that final girl showdown with Pamela and Alice. Part 2, where you get Jenny going up against Jason and Paul intervening. You get that. You get Chris in Part 3 against Jason. You get Tommy and Trish against Jason in Part 4. You get Pam and Reggie and Tommy against Roy in Part 5. And then after that, the big difference, the fall off here, is that you pretty much lose that suspense of that final showdown, because now those killers that you're going against become practically unbeatable. And you end up getting your hero to survive by sheer luck, getting away, or like just something ends up happening in their favor instead of Pamela messing up and getting her head cut off, Jason focusing more on Paul than he should have been on Jenny, Jason getting an axe to the head after getting distracted by Ali, and Jason getting distracted by Trish before Tommy plunged a machete into the side of his head. You lose all of those aspects. The suspense is no longer there because now it's leaned itself from the suspense aspect to just a showcase. Let's show this undead Jason and let's show him do all these spectacular kills, and then let's just write a bullshit ending to how he dies in the end. And this is coming from a massive Friday the 13th fan. I am a big Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise, so I am very much taking a critical eye to this in all fairness with that. That being said, the theory part, what if Tommy became the killer like he was supposed to? Now, as we know, the aspect of Tommy from part 5, he was having hallucinations of Jason. And at the end of part 5, he's wearing Roy's mask and holding a knife, getting ready to stab Pam. Now, what would have happened? What I think would have happened is that he would have killed Pam. He would have been locked back in an asylum and eventually escaped. Now, this is very similar to Halloween, but I think instead of, going to a suburban town like Haddonfield, a suburban neighborhood, I should say, like Haddonfield, where the Myers house is, I think Tommy would go back to Crystal Lake and continue on his murder spree, thinking that he's Jason. And that is ultimately where you go. It's pretty simple. It's pretty plain and simple. Friday the 13th, on his face, is all about revenge. Pamela wanted revenge for what happened to Jason. Jason wanted revenge for what happened to Pamela. Roy wanted revenge for what happened to his son, Joey. Roy wanted revenge for what happened to his son, Joey. And what would Tommy's revenge be? Take your pick. Now, as far as we know, the game's tapes are not canon. Granted, we have a couple of theories here on the channel that treat them as if they were, and takes things in a way that would make it really good if they added it in. But you could add many different aspects into this. One of which being Tommy's psychological break. Now, Tommy lost his dog. Tommy lost his mother. And we don't know what happened to Trish. For all we know, Trish did abandon him. So the vengeance that Tommy might seek at Crystal Lake is punishing anyone that would come into Crystal Lake for the simple fact of everything that he lost. Because you figure, for years, they all looked at Crazy Ralph as this crazy doomsayer that was just spouting nonsense for years and years and years and years. Turns out he was right. And if people would have listened to him, maybe the events of Friday the 13th, 1 through 4, maybe never happened. Maybe. I leave 5 in there because that seems to be divorced from the Voorhees aspect. Granted, I still think Roy was very much inspired because Tommy was there at the very least, and probably decided to don the hockey mask just for that reason, but was likely still going to be killing. But I feel like Tommy would have looked at everyone in the town that pretty much denied the existence of Jason being out there, especially after the disappearance of Alice. Probably never looked for Jason in the woods to begin with, and they gave up a search for this deformed kid that they thought maybe have drowned. Didn't put much stock into it and just let it be. So Tommy may have a bone to pick there, in making it make sense to him, like, you are the reason I lost my mother. You are the reason that I lost my dog. You're the reason that my only other family member, my sister, has abandoned me. Now, the other thing is pretty much, if Tommy was to escape the asylum or wherever he might be, wouldn't Crystal Lake be the next thing that they look for? They look in to see if they can find him? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe Tommy is living in Jason's shack. That could be a thing too. Imagine Tommy's living in Jason's shack after escaping. let a couple years pass by, things die down, there's no sightings of Tommy anywhere, and then they open up one of the camps instead of Camp Crystal Lake, Packanack. Bring back Packanack. Reopen Packanack and have the murders start up again. And it would be a nice little nod, because I know I think there was a rumor not too long ago that Mark, the guy in the wheelchair, his last name was also Jarvis. I know there was like something, I don't know if it was ever confirmed or not, but it'd be a nice little Easter egg to like throw in there, and that he was a member of Tommy's family that was also killed by Jason. And that could add a little bit more gravity to why Tommy would be stalking Packanack. But I don't know. Like, that's where I would go with it if that was the case. And of course, you do a movie or two with Tommy as the killer, traumatize someone else, and then have them pick up the killer mantle and go on from there and continue the Friday the 13th legacy, all about vengeance. That's all you need to really do. Make it all about vengeance. You didn't need to bring undead Jason back. As much as I love Jason, I got tons of Jason stuff back here. I think that would be a fresh take. And that's, in my opinion, why Scream has been able to go on for so long. Granted, we're going on Scream 6 and possibly Scream 7 here shortly. I think having different killers don the same mask, even if you want to do that route, that's completely fine. But I think having different killers definitely keeps new life in, because different killers breathe different motives. Different killers breathe different motives, and different motives creates different stories. As long as it all harkens back to vengeance and Friday the 13th, I think overall it's a good road to go down, and it won't get stale that way. Like, you can still rely on kills, you can still rely on sexual nature that's in there, even though the first couple Friday the 13th movies, if you put them all together, 1 through 4 doesn't have nearly as much nudity as part 5, but that's a different story. But guys, let me know your thoughts. Would you go this route with Tommy? Would you make him the killer? Would you continue on that storyline of new killer, and keeping the, I guess you could say, 6 degrees of Voorhees? I guess you could probably say. Would you keep that going? Or would you just make it Jason? Nothing but Jason. Jason from here to eternity. And how would you go about creating the story and making it fresh? Every single entry, if that is the case. Please comment below, let me know. And remember, if you like this, remember to like, share, and subscribe, as well as hitting the notification bell to be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. And also, don't forget, follow us over on Twitch for more of these discussions and gameplay videos. Gameplay in general. We play DBD, we play Fez, play all kinds of horror games. Make sure, jump on over there and join the community. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to leave it here with you. Stay safe. Have a good night. And as always, I am JG Dark. And thanks for watching. Guys, have a good one.